This is very important information for you to understand because every policy is written a little different. And in Colorado, there's no law that says it has to have this appraisal
Right.
in the policy. And I know of one company, which is State Farm.
Yep.
They do not have this in their policy for a vehicle that is going to be repaired. They do have it in the policy for a vehicle that is deemed a total loss.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Airing of Grievances. I'm Eric Reamer. That's Robert Grieve, and we are ever so grateful that you are with us today. Now, if this is your first time here, thank you. Thanks for taking time out of your day and joining us for ours. We appreciate that, and we hope that you will find this valuable enough to give us the thumbs up. You could do it now, and we'd appreciate it. That helps YouTube know that this is valuable content. It shares it with more people. And every week, Rob, we're getting more and more people to jump on board.
So beyond blessed.
We appreciate you so very much. If you're our regular family, the ones who join us on Saturday mornings at 9:30 a.m. in the Mountain Standard Time, we give you a special shout out and love chatting with you live during the premiere. We can do that with the YouTube app, either on the computer or on your phone or tablet. If you're watching this on a smart TV, you don't have the opportunity to chat with us, but we love you anyways. So thank you for watching.
I don't think I'd want to see me on a large TV.
I actually watch every week
Ah.
on a large TV. All right. So with that being the case, Rob, happy Saturday to you.
Happy Saturday to you.
Absolutely.
My dear friends, happy Saturday to you.
So, Rob, for this week, I thought we would dip our toes into the world of artificial intelligence once again. I decided to ask ChatGPT. Now, you remember that's the large language model that OpenAI is producing. I asked ChatGPT, what are some of the larger concerns or questions that someone who has to make a claim, an insurance claim, what are they thinking about?
Yeah.
And
What's important to them? What questions do they have?
yeah, I pushed the button and ChatGPT did what it does, and we're going to talk about a couple of those.
Yeah, a couple of them, not all of them.
Yeah.
But we're going to cover a couple of these.
All right.
So yeah, common questions and concerns consumers might have.
Yep.
Starts off with the number one thing: what information do I need to file a claim? So, your typical stuff. You need to be able to tell the story of what happened. You need to have your policy number, and they're going to ask you the questions for the most case.
Sure.
But details of the incident, date, time, any contact people, witnesses, have their telephone number and name so that they
Sure.
could reach out to them if they feel like they need to do that.
Yep.
And one of the other things they're going to ask is, do you know where you're going to have the vehicle repaired? Or I'll give you a personal thing. We just had a hailstorm and I have to have my roof replaced. So I called up and went through all this stuff the same way everybody else has to go through it.
Yep.
And one of the questions they asked is, do you have a roofer? And I'm like, no, I haven't picked a roofer yet.
Haven't had the need.
But I took it a little step further and asked them, do you have a recommendation? And they said, no, we don't do that on homeowners claims for roofs and so on.
Did you catch my surprise?
Yeah.
I
I was a little surprised myself. I was waiting to hear, yeah, we have a list and, these are some, no.
Yeah, we
no.
take that list and throw it away.
However,
in the automotive side.
However, on the automotive side,
Yeah.
they have a list.
Yeah.
And they have a list of preferred body shops and You can ask them to send that over to you if you haven't figured out where you're going to take the car. I suggest you figure out that so you know,
Yeah,
ahead of time.
When you say that, you suggest that we figure out who we're going to bring our car to in advance, because the list, and we've got lots of videos on direct repair programs and blogs about this as well. Several of our friends out there also have blogs on their websites that are talking about this direct repair program, the partnership that people have, shops have with the insurers, and that is never in your advantage.
It's never good for you, the consumer. It's good for everybody but you, the consumer.
Right.
So, and we've got plenty of videos that address that.
Yep.
So, moving on, how quickly do I need to file the claim? I say be expeditious about it. In a time like this, insurance companies are overwhelmed. They're low on staff, and the quicker you can get it in there, the quicker things are going to move along.
Sure.
So I recommend, getting it done right away.
You mentioned a hailstorm, and of course, hail also affects automobiles.
Yes.
And many times when a hailstorm, and we've had a couple of those here in our state recently.
Yeah.
Many times you get people who will say, well, it's early in the hail season, maybe I'll hold off, and if we get another hit, then they'll claim all of it together. That's probably not the best idea.
Nah.
Get it done.
Just get it done.
Yeah.
Just get it done.
And if you need to make another claim, hail is an act of God.
Yep.
Right?
That goes under your comprehensive.
It won't strike you for penalty.
Shouldn't.
Or increased rate.
Yep, it should not. The next question is, what happens if I'm at fault? My experience with this question is your spouse is going to rip you for quite a while, quite a long time, for being a dumb butt.
for being a dumb butt. All right. Don't be a dumb butt.
Yeah, that's it. That's what happens if it's your fault. What is a deductible and how does it work? So the deductible is simply this. It's the amount of money that you have to pay first, and they pay the rest.
Yeah.
Now, you should be aware of what your deductibles are, because they can be different for different coverages. Like if you have comprehensive, you can, make that deductible a different deductible than your collision. And then if you go into uninsured, underinsured, there's deductibles attached to that as well, generally speaking.
Okay.
And you want to be cognizant of which deductibles you have.
Typically, the storyline that they give is the higher the deductible,
The less your premium.
the less your premium on a monthly or annual basis, right?
Yeah. I would challenge that and say the thing to do is to ask what the premium would be with a couple of different deductibles that you want to, try on. A $250, a $500, and a $1,000.
Okay.
Some of them have $750 deductibles. I'm willing to bet that the difference between the policy charge between the deductibles is minimal.
Okay.
You're just saving that much by going to a $1,000 deductible from a $500 deductible.
So your advice would be get the lowest deductible
That you can
afford.
Yeah.
Right.
I would. And
Okay.
I was just looking at a Repair-Driven News article that came out this morning, actually.
Mm-hmm.
A recent survey by MarketWatch of 1,000 Americans found more than 36% would only be able to pay $500 without taking on credit to foot the bill. So if you have a $1,000 deductible and you're in this 36%, you're in trouble right out of the box.
You might feel like a dumb butt.
Yeah. And then according to a survey by AAA, that figure hasn't changed since 2017, when 1 in 3 car owners said they couldn't afford to pay out of pocket for an unexpected car repair bill of $500 to $600.
I used to teach the Dave Ramsey course for financial health.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that he says to do right off the top of the bat is to establish an emergency fund
Yeah.
and have that just at the ready, and because emergencies happen,
Yeah.
right? And automotive accidents or mechanical failures happen, and typically they are between $500 and $1,000 on average.
And we're not even, that's just the deductible part.
Right.
There's many times in today's market that the insurance company is not covering the repairs that you really need for your vehicle. And we're going to get into that in a minute. But
Okay.
that could be even more money out of pocket to get the vehicle fixed properly.
Gotcha.
So you have your deductible, and then you have a potential out of pocket because the insurance company isn't going to pay everything to get it back to pre-loss condition, even though that's what the contract says.
Understood.
So, what if the other party is uninsured or underinsured? This is a great question. You need to check your policy to see if you have underinsured or uninsured vehicle coverage. It generally carries the same deductibles as your regular policy.
You said vehicle coverage.
Yeah, coverage. Coverage. Because many people find that they do have uninsured, underinsured coverage, but only for bodily injury, not for property damage. So if somebody uninsured that doesn't have insurance hits your car, you're going to have to go through your own coverage rather than your uninsured, underinsured coverage that's on your policy.
Right.
And when you go through your uninsured, underinsured coverage, then it acts like that other person had insurance. So it's different than going through your own policy.
I see.
Even though it generally has the same deductibles unless you manipulate those deductibles.
Okay.
But it's better to have it under uninsured, underinsured than going through your own collision because that's going to be chargeable points, basically, and rates go up and so on and so forth. If it goes through the uninsured, underinsured, not so much.
Good to know.
Yeah. So make sure you read that section if you have it. If you don't have it, get it, because that is a big thing right now.
Yeah.
Especially with all the thefts, vehicle thefts, they're causing all sorts of damage, and that policy that's with that car doesn't cover it
Wow.
because it was stolen. So, this is a great question. What if I don't agree with the insurance company's assessment?
Well, yeah.
This happens quite often.
Take a look at our entire playlist of stories
Yeah.
here on this channel.
Yeah. And I'm sure you'll link our one video that we did on the appraisal clause to
We
this.
certainly will.
So in your own policy, and so what I'm saying is you're going to go through your own policy. If it was somebody else, you can't go, if you're going through somebody else's policy, the person that hit you, and it's their fault, the appraisal clause doesn't work in that case because it's a contractual agreement in your own policy. So you'd have to be using your own policy to use the appraisal clause.
Okay.
But we have an example here of a policy. And number 7, it says appraisal. It doesn't say appraisal clause. It may say right to appraisal. It may say just appraisal. But it starts off with, if you and we do not agree on the amount of the actual cash value or the amount of loss, then on the written demand of either, each shall select a competent and disinterested appraiser and notify the other of the appraiser selected, in this case within 20 days of such a demand. So the way the appraisal clause works is you hire your own appraiser, they hire their own appraiser, those appraisers independently write what they believe the value of the loss is, and then they get together and hash it out until each of them convince each other and come up with a final number, and that final number becomes binding
Okay.
to the insurance company. If they can't, then they both have to nominate and agree on an umpire. And then if they can't agree, now they send their differences up to the umpire, and the umpire becomes the final word. This is very important information for you to understand, because every policy is written a little different, and in Colorado, there's no law that says it has to have this appraisal
Right.
in the policy. And I know of one company, which is State Farm.
Yep.
They do not have this in their policy for a vehicle that is going to be repaired. They do have it in the policy for a vehicle that is deemed a total loss. But if you're going to repair the car, you do not have this right
Wow.
in a State Farm policy.
So you don't have the opportunity to argue the estimate that they stick firm on if they're going to repair the vehicle.
Right.
Here in Colorado.
Right. And this particular policy has some constraints on it, in that they want you to get a disinterested appraiser, for both sides do, and select within 20 days.
Right.
And then in this particular thing, they want them to decide on an umpire even before they go through the process and pick an umpire. And they have 15 days to do that after they both agree on the appraisers.
Okay.
Not, again, this is not statutory language. This is the policy language.
Okay.
They chose to put this in here. And your policy may read completely different from this. Generally speaking, I don't see any constraints as far as days and timelines and so on and so forth.
I see.
And because it's not statutory to have this in the policy, there's also no statute that says it needs to be done in this amount of time. And this can be a lengthy process. So what I recommend is, if you have the money available, go ahead and get your car fixed and invoke the appraisal clause when it's all done.
Okay.
It's going to be, it can take 6 months
Well, and
to get through this process.
and the value of you telling us that comes into play, because if this process does drag out, you can be out of your vehicle.
You will be out of your vehicle, most likely.
You may run out of your
Rental coverage if you have it.
rental coverage, and you may lose your taste for the fight, which is what they count on. Right?
Yep.
All
Yep.
right.
And many times, before you put it in writing and all the rest of that, just tell the adjuster, can you tell me about the process of me invoking my appraisal clause?
What happens
Or
then?
my right to appraisal? And many times, a supervisor will get involved or something, and we won't go down that road, because it's expensive for them. And then let me just talk about our situation.
Sure.
We don't lose. We don't lose.
We don't lose.
No.
No, and I love that, because you've got the facts and the documentation and the OEM procedures. You've got it all ready for demonstration. Whereas what they have is an attitude and an idea,
Yeah.
and that's about all they've got to lean on.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So, understanding your policy is critical to, and you should understand it. Read through it real quick before you even pick up the phone and make that phone call, because you may have more questions after reading your policy
Yeah.
as to how this is going to work and how that's going to work. And
I think we should also mention that it's important, and this has been driven home to me. I've worked now for Rob for 14 years. It's important that you know where your policy is. And I think this is the first time in many years that you have asked me, do you know where your policy is? That I looked at him and said, yes.
I thought he was lying.
Then this morning he asked me, did you bring it? And I said, yes.
Yes.
And by golly,
Yeah.
here we are talking about it.
So there's lots to look at in there. It's dry reading naturally, but it's important if you have a loss, and to know your rights and what's required by the policy.
Sure.
And they go on to cover other questions here. What happens if my vehicle is totaled, or what if I need a rental car while it's being repaired. Rental car is another big subject for me. Get the most robust policy you can on the rental. It takes a long time today to negotiate the repair settlement,
Yeah.
and then order the parts. There's a lot of back-ordered parts right now, and this thing can drag on for a month or two for something that isn't all that severe.
Yeah.
So
And just to put a little icing on the cake of not only did I know where my rental policy was and was able to bring it in this morning, but when you looked at it, you saw that, or not my rental policy, but my auto coverage policy.
yeah,
But then you saw my rental policy provision, and mine is $50 to a max limit of $1,500.
right.
Which you looked at me and said, "Well, that's pretty good."
It's not bad,
And
it's not bad. It's not going to get you all the way through
yeah,
what it takes today.
right.
And we've done another video on how long it takes to get through this whole
Sure.
process, and maybe you can flag that here. But that's what I have for today. Just wanted to answer some simple questions.
Yeah,
And if you have more questions, put them in the comments section,
please.
and we'll do our best to get those answered for you. Other than that, happy Saturday.
To you as well.
My dear friends, happy Saturday to you. I hope you have an amazing week. It is July 4th this week.
It is.
Happy July 4th to you. God bless America.
Yes.
See you next Saturday.